Welcome to today's Triple Z. The Triple Z podcast is a daily program that you can use to help you fall asleep each night. Just turn down the volume, lay back, relax, and enjoy as you fall asleep. We saw that our podcast was topping the charts in Kosovo, so we are going to read their Wikipedia entry. Let's learn about this interesting country in the dullest way possible. If you enjoy our program, please be sure to write us a review on your podcast platform and share us with a friend. You both might sleep just a little better at night. Our website is ZZZ, that's 3z's.media. You can also like and share our content on Facebook or our Instagram account ZZZ Media Podcast. Music for today's episode was provided by the Sleep channel on Spotify. Music for today's episode was provided by the Sleep channel on Spotify and Apple Music. Kosovo, officially the Republic of Kosovo, is a country in Southeast Europe with partial diplomatic recognition. Kosovo lies landlocked in the center of the Balkans, bordered by Serbia to the north and east, North Macedonia to the southeast, Albania to the southwest, and Montenegro to the west. Most of central Kosovo is dominated by the vast plains and fields of Metohija and the Kosovo Field. The Accursed Mountains and Sar Mountains rise in the southwest and southeast, respectively. Its capital and largest city is Pristina. The Dardani tribe emerged in Kosovo and established the Kingdom of Dardania in the 4th century BC. It was later annexed by the Roman Empire in the 1st century BC. The territory remained in the Byzantine Empire, facing Slavic migrations from the 6th to 7th century AD. Control shifted between the Byzantines and the First Bulgarian Empire. In the 13th century, Kosovo became integral to the Serbian medieval state and the seat of the Serbian Orthodox Church. Ottoman expansion in the Balkans in the late 14th and 15th century led to the decline and fall of the Serbian Empire. The Battle of Kosovo of 1389 is considered to be one of the defining moments. Serbian dynasties, mainly the Brankovic, would govern Kosovo for a significant portion of the period following the battle. The Ottoman Empire fully conquered Kosovo after the Second Battle of Kosovo, ruling for nearly 5 centuries until 1912. Kosovo was the center of the Albanian Renaissance and experienced the Albanian revolts of 1910 and 1912. After the Balkan Wars, it was ceded to Serbia and Montenegro and became an autonomous province within Yugoslavia. Tensions between Kosovo's Albanian and Serb communities simmered through the 20th century and occasionally erupted into major violence, culminating in the Kosovo War of 1998 and 1999, which resulted in the withdrawal of the Yugoslav army and the establishment of the United Nations Interim Administration Mission in Kosovo. Kosovo unilaterally declared its independence from Serbia on February 17, 2008, and has since gained diplomatic recognition as a sovereign state by 102 member states of the United Nations. Although Serbia does not officially recognize Kosovo as a sovereign state and continues to claim it as its constituent autonomous province of Kosovo and Metohija, it accepts the governing authority of the Kosovo institutions as a part of the 2013 Brussels Agreement. Kosovo is a developing country with an upper-middle income economy. It has experienced solid economic growth over the last decade as measured by international financial institutions since the onset of the financial crisis of 2007 to 2008. Kosovo is a member of the International Monetary Fund, World Bank, EBRD, Venice Commission, the International Olympic Committee, and has applied for membership in the Council of Europe, UNESCO, Interpol, and for observer status in the Organization of Islamic Cooperation. In December 2022, Kosovo filed a formal application to become a member of the European Union. The name Kosovo is of South Slavic origin. Kosovo, Serbian Cyrillic, is the Serbian neuter possessive adjective of Kos, blackbird, and ellipsis for Kosovo Polj, blackbird field, the name of a karst field situated in the eastern half of today's Kosovo and the site of the 1389 Battle of Kosovo Field. The name of the karst field was for the first time applied to a wider area when the Ottoman Vilayet of Kosovo was created in 1877. The entire territory that corresponds to today's country is commonly referred to in English simply as Kosovo and in Albanian as Kosova, definite form, or Kosov, indefinite form, pronounced. In Serbia, a formal distinction is made between the eastern and western areas of the country. The term Kosovo is used for the eastern part of Kosovo centered on the historical Kosovo Field, while the western part of the territory of Kosovo is called Metohija, Albanian, Dukagjan. Thus, in Serbia, the entire Kosovo is called by the dual name Kosovo and Metohija. Some Albanians also prefer to refer to Kosovo as Dardania, the name of an ancient kingdom and later Roman province, which covered the territory of modern-day Kosovo. The name is derived from the ancient tribe of the Dardani, which is considered to be related to the Proto-Albanian term Darda, which means pear, modern Albanian, Dard. The former Kosovo president Ibrahim Rugova had been an enthusiastic backer of a Dardanian identity, and the Kosovar presidential flag and seal refer to this national identity. However, the name Kosovo remains more widely used among the Albanian population. The flag of Dardania remains in use as the official presidential seal and standard and is heavily featured in the institution of the presidency of the country. The official conventional long name of the state is Republic of Kosovo, as defined by the Constitution of Kosovo, and is used to represent Kosovo internationally. Additionally, as a result of an arrangement agreed between Pristina and Belgrade in talks mediated by the European Union, Kosovo has participated in some international forums and organizations under the title Kosovo, with a footnote stating, "This designation is without prejudice to positions on status, and is in line with UNSC 1244 and the ICJ opinion on the Kosovo Declaration of Independence." This arrangement, which has been dubbed the Asterisk Agreement, was agreed in an 11-point arrangement on February 24, 2012. The strategic position, including the abundant natural resources, were favorable for the development of human settlements in Kosovo, as is highlighted by the hundreds of archaeological sites identified throughout its territory. Since 2000, the increase in archaeological expeditions has revealed many previously unknown sites. The earliest documented traces in Kosovo are associated to the Stone Age, namely, indications that cave dwellings might have existed, such as Radovoj Cave near the source of the Drin River, Grunkar Cave in Viti municipality, and the Dima and Karamakos caves in the municipality of Peja. The earliest archaeological evidence of organized settlement, which have been found in Kosovo, belong to the Neolithic Starcevo and Vinca cultures. Vlašć and Runic are important sites of the Neolithic era, with the rock art paintings at Mrizija Kobages near Vlašć being the first find of prehistoric art in Kosovo. Amongst the finds of excavations in Neolithic Runic is a baked clay ocarina, which is the first musical instrument recorded in Kosovo. The first archaeological expedition in Kosovo was organized by the Austro-Hungarian army during the World War I in the Illyrian tumuli burial grounds of Nebrobishti within the district of Prizren. The beginning of the Bronze Age coincides with the presence of tumuli burial grounds in western Kosovo, like the site of Ramaj. The Dardani were the most important Paleo-Balkan tribe in the region of Kosovo. A wide area which consists of Kosovo, parts of northern Macedonia and eastern Serbia was named Dardania after them in classical antiquity, reaching to the Thraco-Illyrian contact zone in the east. In archaeological research, Illyrian names are predominant in western Dardania, while Thracian names are mostly found in eastern Dardania. Thracian names are absent in western Dardania, while some Illyrian names appear in the eastern parts. Thus, their identification as either an Illyrian or Thracian tribe has been a subject of debate, the ethno-linguistic relationship between the two groups being largely uncertain and debated itself as well. The correspondence of Illyrian names, including those of the ruling elite, in Dardania with those of the southern Illyrians suggests a Thracianization of parts of Dardania. The Dardani retained an individuality and continued to maintain social independence after Roman conquest, playing an important role in the formation of new groupings in the Roman era. The Roman state annexed Dardania by the 1st century AD. The importance of the area lay in its high mining potential, highlighted by the large mining complex of Municipium Dardanorum and the designation of part of the region as an imperial mining district. Kosovo was part of two provinces, Prevalitana and Dardania. Ulpiana is the most important municipium which developed in Kosovo. It was refounded as Justiniana Secunda under Justinian in the 6th century AD. In the next centuries, Kosovo was a frontier province of the Byzantine Empire. The region was exposed to an increasing number of raids from the 4th century CE onward, culminating with the Slavic migrations of the 6th and 7th centuries. Toponymic evidence suggests that Albanian was probably spoken in Kosovo prior to the Slavic settlement of the region. There is one intriguing line of argument to suggest that the Slav presence in Kosovo and southernmost part of the Morava Valley may have been quite weak in the first 1 or 2 centuries of Slav settlement. Only in the 9th century can the expansion of a strong Slav, or quasi-Slav, power into this region be observed. Under a series of ambitious rulers, the Bulgarians pushed westwards across modern Macedonia and eastern Serbia, until by the 850s they had taken over Kosovo and were pressing on the border of Serbian Principality. The First Bulgarian Empire acquired Kosovo by the mid-9th century, but Byzantine control was restored by the late 10th century. In 1072, the leaders of the Bulgarian uprising of Georgi Voida traveled from their center in Skopje to Prizren and held a meeting in which they invited Mihailo Vojislavljevic of Duklja to send them assistance. Mihailo sent his son, Constantine Bodin, with 300 of his soldiers. After they met, the Bulgarian magnates proclaimed him Emperor of the Bulgarians. Dimitrios Komatinos is the last Byzantine Archbishop of Ohrid to include Prizren in his jurisdiction until 1219. Stefan Nemanja had seized the area along the White Dren in 1185 to 1195, and the ecclesiastical split of Prizren from the Patriarchate in 1219 was the final act of establishing Nemanjic rule. Constantine Jersek concluded, from the correspondence of Archbishop Demetrios of Ohrid from 1216 to 1236, that Dardania was increasingly populated by Albanians, and the expansion started from Jakova and Prizren area, prior to the Slavic expansion. During the 13th and 14th centuries, Kosovo was a political, cultural, and religious center of the Serbian kingdom. In the late 13th century, the seat of the Serbian archbishopric was moved to Peja, and rulers centered themselves between Prizren and Skopje, during which time thousands of Christian monasteries and feudal-style forts and castles were erected, Stefan Dusan using Prizren fortress as one of his temporary courts for a time. When the Serbian Empire fragmented into a conglomeration of principalities in 1371, Kosovo became the hereditary land of the House of Brankovic. During the late 14th and early 15th centuries, parts of Kosovo, the easternmost area located near Pristina, were part of the Principality of Dukagini, which was later incorporated into an anti-Ottoman federation of all Albanian principalities, the League of Lycia. Medieval monuments in Kosovo is a combined UNESCO World Heritage Site consisting of 4 Serbian Orthodox churches and monasteries in Dekane, Pek, Prizren, and Gračanica. The constructions were founded by members of the Nemanjic dynasty, a prominent dynasty of medieval Serbia. In 1389, as the Ottoman Empire expanded northwards through the Balkans, Ottoman forces under Sultan Murad I met with a Christian coalition led by Moravian Serbia under Prince Lazar in the Battle of Kosovo. Both sides suffered heavy losses, and the battle was a stalemate, and it was even reported as a Christian victory at first, but Serbian manpower was depleted and de facto Serbian rulers could not raise another equal force to the Ottoman army. Different parts of Kosovo were ruled directly or indirectly by the Ottomans in this early period. The medieval town of Novo Brdo was under Lazar's son, Stefan, who became a loyal Ottoman vassal and instigated the downfall of Vuk Brankovic, who eventually joined the Hungarian anti-Ottoman coalition and was defeated in 1395–96. A small part of Vuk's land with the villages of Pristina and Vučićin was given to his sons to hold as Ottoman vassals for a brief period. By 1455–57, the Ottoman Empire assumed direct control of all of Kosovo, and the region remained part of the empire until 1912. During this period, Islam was introduced to the region. As Ottoman rule spread, Christian Serbs fled Kosovo to leave westwards and northwards, causing the population of Kosovo to fall dramatically. The continuous emigration from Kosovo reached its peak at the Great Migrations of the Serbs, which included some Christian Albanians. To compensate for the population loss, the Turks encouraged settlement of non-Slav Muslim Albanians in the wider region of Kosovo. By the end of the 18th century, Kosovo would attain an Albanian majority, with Peja, Prizren, Pristina becoming especially important towns for the local Muslim population. Although initially stout opponents of the advancing Turks, Albanian chiefs ultimately came to accept the Ottomans as sovereigns. The resulting alliance facilitated the mass conversion of Albanians to Islam. Given that the Ottoman Empire's subjects were divided along religious rather than ethnic lines, the spread of Islam greatly elevated the status of Albanian chiefs. Centuries earlier, Albanians of Kosovo were predominantly Christian, and Albanians and Serbs for the most part coexisted peacefully. The Ottomans appeared to have a more deliberate approach to converting the Roman Catholic population, who were mostly Albanians in comparison with the mostly Serbian adherents of Eastern Orthodoxy, as they viewed the former less favorably due to its allegiance to Rome, a competing regional power. In the 19th century, there was an awakening of ethnic nationalism throughout the Balkans. The underlying ethnic tensions became part of a broader struggle of Christian Serbs against Muslim Albanians. The ethnic Albanian nationalism movement was centered in Kosovo. In 1878, the League of Prizren, Liga I Prizrenit, was formed, a political organization that sought to unify all the Albanians of the Ottoman Empire in a common struggle for autonomy and greater cultural rights, although they generally desired the continuation of the Ottoman Empire. The League was disestablished in 1881, but enabled the awakening of a national identity among Albanians whose ambitions competed with those of the Serbs, the Kingdom of Serbia wishing to incorporate this land that had formerly been within its empire. The modern Albanian-Serbian conflict has its roots in the expulsion of the Albanians in 1877 to 1878 from areas that became incorporated into the Principality of Serbia. During and after the Serbian-Ottoman War of 1876 to 78, between 30,000 and 70,000 Muslims, mostly Albanians, were expelled by the Serb army from the Sanjak of Nis and fled to the Kosovo Vilayet. According to Austrian data, by the 1890s Kosovo was 70% Muslim, nearly entirely of Albanian descent, and less than 30% non-Muslim, primarily Serbs. In May 1901, Albanians pillaged and partially burned the cities of Novi Pazar, Stenica and Pristina, and massacred Serbs in the area of Kolasin. In the spring of 1912, Albanians under the lead of Hasan Prishtina revolted against the Ottoman Empire. The rebels were joined by a wave of Albanians in the Ottoman army ranks who deserted the army, refusing to fight their own kin. The rebels defeated the Ottomans, and the latter were forced to accept all 14 demands of the rebels, which foresaw an effective autonomy for the Albanians living in the empire. However, this autonomy never materialized, and the revolt created serious weaknesses in the Ottoman ranks, luring Montenegro, Serbia, Bulgaria, and Greece into declaring war on the Ottoman Empire and starting the First Balkan War. After the Ottomans' defeat in the First Balkan War, the 1913 Treaty of London was signed with Metohija ceded to the Kingdom of Montenegro and Eastern Kosovo ceded to the Kingdom of Serbia. During the Balkan Wars, over 100,000 Albanians left Kosovo and about 50,000 were killed in the massacres that accompanied the war. Soon, there were concerted Serbian colonization efforts in Kosovo during various periods between Serbia's 1912 takeover of the province and World War II, causing the population of Serbs in Kosovo to grow by about 58,000 in this period. Serbian authorities promoted creating new Serb settlements in Kosovo as well as the assimilation of Albanians into Serbian society, causing a mass exodus of Albanians from Kosovo. The figures of Albanians forcefully expelled from Kosovo range between 60,000 and 239,807, while Malcolm mentions 100,000 to 120,000. In combination with the politics of extermination and expulsion, there was also a process of assimilation through religious conversion of Albanian Muslims and Albanian Catholics into the Serbian Orthodox religion, which took place as early as 1912. These politics seem to have been inspired by the nationalist ideologies of Alija Garrisonin and Jovan Kvijic. In the winter of 1915-16, during World War I, Kosovo saw the retreat of the Serbian army as Kosovo was occupied by Bulgaria and Austria-Hungary. In 1918, the Allied powers pushed the Central Powers out of Kosovo. A new administration system since April 26, 1922 split Kosovo among 3 districts, oblast, of the kingdom, Kosovo, Raška and Zeta. In 1929, the country was transformed into the Kingdom of Yugoslavia and the territories of Kosovo were reorganized among the Banate of Zeta, the Banate of Morava, and the Banate of Vardar. In order to change the ethnic composition of Kosovo, between 1912 and 1941, a large-scale Serbian colonization of Kosovo was undertaken by the Belgrade government. Kosovar Albanians' right to receive education in their own language was denied alongside other non-Slavic or unrecognized Slavic nations of Yugoslavia, as the kingdom only recognized the Slavic Croat, Serb, and Slovene nations as constituent nations of Yugoslavia. Other Slavs had to identify as one of the three official Slavic nations and non-Slav nations deemed as minorities. Albanians and other Muslims were forced to emigrate, mainly with the land reform which struck Albanian landowners in 1919, but also with direct violent measures. In 1935 and 1938, two agreements between the Kingdom of Yugoslavia and Turkey were signed on the expatriation of 240,000 Albanians to Turkey, but the expatriation did not occur due to the outbreak of World War II. After the Axis invasion of Yugoslavia in 1941, most of Kosovo was assigned to Italian-controlled Albania, and the rest was controlled by Germany and Bulgaria. A three-dimensional conflict ensued, involving interethnic, ideological, and international affiliations. Albanian collaborators persecuted Serb and Montenegrin settlers. Estimates differ, but most authors estimate that between 3,000 and 10,000 Serbs and Montenegrins died in Kosovo during the Second World War. Another 30,000 to 40,000, or as high as 100,000, Serbs and Montenegrins, mainly settlers, were deported to Serbia in order to Albanianize Kosovo. A decree from Yugoslav leader Josip Broz Tito, followed by a new law in August 1945, disallowed the return of colonists who had taken land from Albanian peasants. During the war years, some Serbs and Montenegrins were sent to concentration camps in Pristina and Mitrovica. Nonetheless, these conflicts were relatively low-level compared with other areas of Yugoslavia during the war years. Two Serb historians also estimate that 12,000 Albanians died. An official investigation conducted by the Yugoslav government in 1964 recorded nearly 8,000 war-related fatalities in Kosovo between 1941 and 1945, 5,489 of them Serb or Montenegrin and 2,177 Albanian. Some sources note that up to 72,000 individuals were encouraged to settle or resettle into Kosovo from Albania by the short-lived Italian administration. As the regime collapsed, this was never materialized, with historians and contemporary references emphasizing that a large-scale migration of Albanians from Albania to Kosovo is not recorded in Axis documents. The existing province took shape in 1945 as the autonomous region of Kosovo and Metohija, with a final demarcation in 1959. Until 1945, the only entity bearing the name of Kosovo in the late modern period had been the Vilayet of Kosovo, a political unit created by the Ottoman Empire in 1877. However, those borders were different. Tensions between ethnic Albanians and the Yugoslav government were significant, not only due to ethnic tensions, but also due to political ideological concerns, especially regarding relations with neighboring Albania. Harsh repressive measures were imposed on Kosovo Albanians due to suspicions that there were sympathizers of the Stalinist regime of Enver Hoxha of Albania. In 1956, a show trial in Pristina was held in which multiple Albanian communists of Kosovo were convicted of being infiltrators from Albania and given long prison sentences. high-ranking Serbian communist official Aleksandar Rankovic sought to secure the position of the Serbs in Kosovo and gave them dominance in Kosovo's nomenclatura. Islam in Kosovo at this time was repressed, and both Albanians and Muslim Slavs were encouraged to declare themselves to be Turkish and emigrate to Turkey. At the same time, Serbs and Montenegrins dominated the government, security forces, and industrial employment in Kosovo. Albanians resented these conditions and protested against them in the late 1960s, calling the actions taken by authorities in Kosovo colonialist and demanding that Kosovo be made a republic or declaring support for Albania. After the ouster of Rankovic in 1966, the agenda of proto-centralization reformers in Yugoslavia succeeded in the late 1960s in attaining substantial decentralization of powers, creating substantial autonomy in Kosovo and Vojvodina, and recognizing a Muslim Yugoslav nationality. As a result of these reforms, there was a massive overhaul of Kosovo's nomenclatura and police that shifted from being Serb-dominated to ethnic Albanian-dominated through firing Serbs in large scale. Further concessions were made to the ethnic Albanians of Kosovo in response to unrest, including the creation of the University of Pristina as an Albanian language institution. These changes created widespread fear among Serbs that they were being made second-class citizens in Yugoslavia. By the 1974 Constitution of Yugoslavia, Kosovo was granted major autonomy, allowing it to have its own administration, assembly, and judiciary, as well as having a membership in the collective presidency in the Yugoslav parliament, in which it held veto power. In the aftermath of the 1974 Constitution, concerns over the rise of Albanian nationalism in Kosovo rose with the widespread celebrations in 1978 of the 100th anniversary of the founding of the League of Prizren. Albanians felt that their status as a minority in Yugoslavia had made them second-class citizens in comparison with the nations of Yugoslavia and demanded that Kosovo be a constituent republic alongside the other republics of Yugoslavia. Protests by Albanians in 1981 over the status of Kosovo resulted in Yugoslav territorial defense units being brought into Kosovo and a state of emergency being declared, resulting in violence and the protests being crushed. In the aftermath of the 1981 protests, purges took place in the Communist Party, and rights that had been recently granted to Albanians were rescinded, including ending the provision of Albanian professors and Albanian language textbooks in the education system. While Albanians in the region had the highest birth rates in Europe, other areas of Yugoslavia, including Serbia, had low birth rates. Increased urbanization and economic development led to higher settlements of Albanian workers into Serb-majority areas, as Serbs departed in response to the economic climate for more favorable real estate conditions in Serbia. While there was tension, charges of genocide and planned harassment have been discredited as a pretext to revoke Kosovo's autonomy. For example, in 1986, the Serbian Orthodox Church published an official claim that Kosovo Serbs were being subjected to an Albanian program of genocide. Even though they were disproved by police statistics, they received wide attention in the Serbian press, and that led to further ethnic problems and eventual removal of Kosovo's status. Beginning in March 1981, Kosovar Albanian students of the University of Pristina organized protests seeking that Kosovo become a republic within Yugoslavia and demanding their human rights. The protests were brutally suppressed by the police and army, with many protesters arrested. During the 1980s, ethnic tensions continued with frequent violent outbreaks against Yugoslav state authorities, resulting in a further increase in emigration of Kosovo Serbs and other ethnic groups. The Yugoslav leadership tried to suppress protests of Kosovo Serbs seeking protection from ethnic discrimination and violence. Interethnic tensions continued to worsen in Kosovo throughout the 1980s. In 1989, Serbian President Slobodan Milosevic, employing a mix of intimidation and political maneuvering, drastically reduced Kosovo's special autonomous status within Serbia and started cultural oppression of the ethnic Albanian population. Kosovar Albanians responded with a non-violent separatist movement, employing widespread civil disobedience and creation of parallel structures in education, medical care, and taxation, with the ultimate goal of achieving the independence of Kosovo. In July 1990, the Kosovo Albanians proclaimed the existence of the Republic of Kosovo and declared it a sovereign and independent state in September 1992. In May 1992, Ibrahim Rugova was elected its president. During its lifetime, the Republic of Kosovo was only officially recognized by Albania. By the mid-1990s, the Kosovo Albanian population was growing restless as the status of Kosovo was not resolved as part of the Dayton Agreement of November 1995, which ended the Bosnian War. By 1996, the Kosovo Liberation Army, KLA, an ethnic Albanian guerrilla paramilitary group that sought the separation of Kosovo and the eventual creation of a Greater Albania, had prevailed over the Rugova's nonviolent resistance movement and launched attacks against the Yugoslav army and Serbian police in Kosovo, resulting in the Kosovo War. By 1998, international pressure compelled Yugoslavia to sign a ceasefire and partially withdraw its security forces. Events were to be monitored by Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe, OSCE, observers according to an agreement negotiated by Richard Holbrooke. The ceasefire did not hold and fighting resumed in December 1998, culminating in the Rakic massacre, which attracted further international attention to the conflict. Within weeks, a multilateral international conference was convened and by March had prepared a draft agreement known as the Rambouillet Accords, calling for the restoration of Kosovo's autonomy and the deployment of NATO peacekeeping forces. The Yugoslav delegation found the terms unacceptable and refused to sign the draft. Between March 24 and June 10, 1999, NATO intervened by bombing Yugoslavia, aiming to force Milosevic to withdraw his forces from Kosovo, though NATO could not appeal to any particular motion of the Security Council of the United Nations to help legitimize its intervention. Combined with continued skirmishes between Albanian guerrillas and Yugoslav forces, the conflict resulted in a further massive displacement of population in Kosovo. During the conflict, roughly 1 million ethnic Albanians fled or were forcefully driven from Kosovo. In 1999, more than 11,000 deaths were reported to the Office of the International Criminal Tribunal for the former Yugoslavia prosecutor Carla Del Ponte. As of 2010, some 3,000 people were still missing, including 2,500 Albanians, 400 Serbs, and 100 Roma. By June, Milosevic agreed to a foreign military presence in Kosovo and the withdrawal of his troops. During the Kosovo War, over 90,000 Serbian and other non-Albanian refugees fled the province. In the days after the Yugoslav army withdrew, over 80,000 Serb and other non-Albanian civilians, almost half of 200,000 estimated to live in Kosovo, were expelled from Kosovo, and many of the remaining civilians were victims of abuse. After the Kosovo and other Yugoslav wars, Serbia became home to the highest number of refugees and IDPs, including Kosovo Serbs, in Europe. In some villages under Albanian control in 1998, militants drove ethnic Serbs from their homes. Some of those who remained are unaccounted for and are presumed to have been abducted by the KLA and killed. The KLA detained an estimated 85 Serbs during its July 19, 1998 attack on Rahovec. 35 of these were subsequently released, but the others remained. On July 22, 1998, the KLA briefly took control of the Belasivac mine near the town of Obilic. 9 Serb mine workers were captured that day, and they remain on the International Committee of the Red Cross's list of the missing and are presumed to have been killed. In August 1998, 22 Serbian civilians were reportedly killed in the village of Kleka, where the police claimed to have discovered human remains in a kiln used to cremate the bodies. In September 1998, Serbian police collected 34 bodies of people believed to have been seized and murdered by the KLA, among them some ethnic Albanians, at Lake Radonjic near Glogjan, in what became known as the Lake Radonjic Massacre. Human Rights Watch have raised questions about the validity of at least some of these allegations made by Serbian authorities. The International Criminal Tribunal for the former Yugoslavia, ICTY, prosecuted crimes committed during the Kosovo War. 9 senior Yugoslav officials, including Milosevic, were indicted for crimes against humanity and war crimes committed between January and June 1999. 6 of the defendants were convicted, 1 was acquitted, 1 died before his trial could commence, and 1, Milosevic, died before his trial could conclude. 6 KLA members were charged with crimes against humanity and war crimes by the ICTY following the war, and 1 was convicted. In total, around 10,317 civilians were killed during the war, of whom 8,676 were Albanians, 1,196 Serbs, and 445 Roma and others, in addition to 3,218 killed members of armed formations. On June 10, 1999, the UN Security Council passed UN Security Council Resolution 1244, which placed Kosovo under transitional UN administration, UNMIK, and authorized Kosovo Force, KFOR, a NATO-led peacekeeping force. Resolution 1244 provided that Kosovo would have autonomy within the Federal Republic of Yugoslavia, and affirmed the territorial integrity of Yugoslavia, which has been legally succeeded by the Republic of Serbia. Estimates of the number of Serbs who left when Serbian forces left Kosovo vary from 65,000 to 250,000. Within post-conflict Kosovo Albanian society calls for retaliation for previous violence done by Serb forces during the war circulated through public culture. Widespread attacks against Serbian cultural sites commenced following the conflict and the return of hundreds of thousands of Kosovo Albanian refugees to their homes. In 2004, prolonged negotiations over Kosovo's future status, socio-political problems, and nationalist sentiments resulted in the Kosovo unrest. 11 Albanians and 16 Serbs were killed, 900 people, including peacekeepers, were injured, and several houses, public buildings, and churches were damaged or destroyed. International negotiations began in 2006 to determine the final status of Kosovo, as envisaged under UN Security Council Resolution 1244. The UN-backed talks, led by UN Special Envoy Martti Ahtisaari, began in February 2006. Whilst progress was made on technical matters, both parties remained diametrically opposed on the question of status itself. In February 2007, Ahtisaari delivered a draft status settlement proposal to leaders in Belgrade and Pristina, the basis for a draft UN Security Council resolution which proposed supervised independence for the province. A draft resolution, backed by the United States, the United Kingdom and other European members of the Security Council, was presented and rewritten 4 times to try to accommodate Russian concerns that such a resolution would undermine the principle of state sovereignty. Russia, which holds a veto in the Security Council as one of 5 permanent members, had stated that it would not support any resolution which was not acceptable to both Belgrade and Kosovo Albanians. Whilst most observers had, at the beginning of the talks, anticipated independence as the most likely outcome, others have suggested that a rapid resolution might not be preferable. After many weeks of discussions at the UN, the United States, United Kingdom and other European members of the Security Council formally discarded a draft resolution backing Ahtisaari's proposal on July 20, 2007, having failed to secure Russian backing. Beginning in August, a troika consisting of negotiators from the European Union, Wolfgang Ischinger, the United States, Frank G. Wisner, and Russia, Alexander Botsinkarchenko, launched a new effort to reach a status outcome acceptable to both Belgrade and Pristina. Despite Russian disapproval, the US, the United Kingdom, and France appeared likely to recognize Kosovar independence. A declaration of independence by Kosovar Albanian leaders was postponed until the end of the Serbian presidential elections, February 4, 2008. A significant portion of politicians in both the EU and the US had feared that a premature declaration could boost support in Serbia for the nationalist candidate Tomislav Nikolic. In November 2001, the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe supervised the first elections for the Assembly of Kosovo. After that election, Kosovo's political parties formed an all-party unity coalition and elected Ibrahim Rugova as president and Badrum Rexhepi, PDK, as prime minister. After Kosovo-wide elections in October 2004, the LDK and AAK formed a new governing coalition that did not include PDK and ORA. This coalition agreement resulted in Ramush Haradinaj, AAK, becoming prime minister, while Ibrahim Rugova retained the position of president. PDK and ORA were critical of the coalition agreement and have since frequently accused that government of corruption. Parliamentary elections were held on November 17, 2007. After early results, Hashim Thasi, who was on course to gain 35% of the vote, claimed victory for PDK, the Democratic Party of Kosovo, and stated his intention to declare independence. Thasi formed a coalition with President Fatmir Secdia's Democratic League, which was in second place with 22% of the vote. The turnout at the election was particularly low. Most members of the Serb minority refused to vote. Kosovo declared independence from Serbia on February 17, 2008. As of September 4, 2020, 114 UN states recognized its independence, including all of its immediate neighbors, with the exception of Serbia. 15 states have subsequently withdrawn that recognition. Of the UN Security Council members, while the USA, UK, and France do recognize Kosovo's independence, Russia and China do not. Since declaring independence, it has become a member of international institutions such as the International Monetary Fund and World Bank, though not of the United Nations. The Serb minority of Kosovo, which largely opposes the Declaration of Independence, has formed the Community Assembly of Kosovo and Metohija in response. The creation of the assembly was condemned by Kosovo's President Fatmir Secdiju, while UNMIK has said the assembly is not a serious issue because it will not have an operative role. On October 8, 2008, the UN General Assembly resolved on a proposal by Serbia to ask the International Court of Justice to render an advisory opinion on the legality of Kosovo's Declaration of Independence. The advisory opinion, which is not binding over decisions by states to recognize or not recognize Kosovo, was rendered on July 22, 2010, holding that Kosovo's Declaration of Independence was not in violation either of general principles of international law, which do not prohibit unilateral declarations of independence, nor of specific international law, in particular UNSCR 1244, which did not define the final status process nor reserve the outcome to a decision of the Security Council. Some rapprochement between the two governments took place on April 19, 2013, as both parties reached the Brussels Agreement, an agreement brokered by the EU that allowed the Serb minority in Kosovo to have its own police force and court of appeals. The agreement is yet to be ratified by either parliament. Presidents of Serbia and Kosovo organized two meetings in Brussels on February 27, 2023 and Ohrid on March 18, 2023 to create and agree upon an 11-point agreement on implementing a European Union-backed deal to normalize ties between the two countries, which includes recognizing each other's documents such as passports and license plates.